No pressure at all. But we're on any place that you can find podcasts. And if we don't get your subscription, you can leave now. But no pressure. Live discussion. Before we do anything, I just want, if y'all, man, just clap it up. Like, man, we got an audience today. Beautiful people having a good time. Got the AC on. If you can't hear us, it's because of the AC. But if we turn it off, some things gonna happen that I don't want to happen. And so, so we're here, and welcome to the Black Year Podcast, where we talk about land, food, and liberation. You want to lead us in, Ash?
No.
Okay,
why
well,
you always set me up?
That's cool. All right, well, we don't have to. I'm here actually as co-host with Sister Ashley as a guest host, because Brother Lee is on his honeymoon, somewhere getting it done. Really excited about Black love. Also excited about him getting his black ass back here. So that the next episode, I can be behind the camera like I usually am. So anyway, really excited. I want to introduce our filmmakers, our sisters, Juga and Nnamdi, or Nnamdi. Sorry, you said Nnamdi one time, right, and I recognize I messed that up. I'm from Cherry Hill, y'all. My fault. I just want to just introduce y'all and what y'all do, and really just like, what's the inspiration for this film?
So again, I'm Nneka Nnamdi, creator of Fight, Blight, Be More. We are a social, environmental, and economic justice initiative aimed at really drilling down on what blight is, how it impacts our community, how it came into being, but really more so focused on the solutions that we have amongst ourselves to really remediate it, to get rid of it, and to build and develop community.
Mm-hmm. That's powerful. You said something that we want to get into, how we do it ourselves. Sister June, tell us about what you do.
I do a lot, but today I'm here as a visual storyteller. As a visual storyteller, debuting as a director, producer,
That's what I'm
and editor.
Debuting, and look, they only got the chance to see 30 minutes of it.
Yeah.
So they need to set up their screen so they can see the date. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's a big thing, because I've been anxious this whole time, just leading up to this, and so just seeing it and seeing people here and getting some of that feedback that we talked about amongst ourselves, right, has been amazing. So it's all about educating people, showing them where they can get their hands dirty and do the work, and just telling stories, authentic stories about people, because we are storytellers in and of ourselves. So that's a really big part of me.
Well, I appreciate y'all being willing to not only be here, have a good conversation, looking forward to it, but also for your work. I know firsthand, you know what I mean, how much it takes, the labor of love that it takes, especially when you don't have white institutions giving you money to make films. I'm assuming that that's the case because we talked about it. Not a ton of money. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Not
and
enough.
Even if you get some, not enough for sure to tell the stories that you want to. So I'm just thankful for the labor of love that you all put in that I can only imagine. So I just, before anything, want to say thank you. But Ash, hey, I learned a lot, but you got any thoughts about, I guess, what you learned to get us started?
It was really a tease. Like, I was really into it. Like, I was in the computer like, this is all the shit. Can I say shit?
Yeah, I think shit is cool.
Look, my bad, shit is cool. I was like, this is all the shit I want to learn about. And it came in the form of where people like me can understand it. You know, like, we don't have these resources. Like, where did you, it was just a lot. And I was just like, this is deep. Like, I can't wait to see the rest of it.
So don't tell nobody when the event over, we're going to put the whole thing on since we had the technological issue.
Well, you just told them.
Oh, it is live today.
It's live.
Y'all can come down to where we at if you want to see the whole thing. But, you know, for me, I learned a lot. And to be honest, I watched it like 3 times just Wednesday. So I've seen it. But what hit me today, and we talked about it before we hopped on camera, when the Bible said, we are sitting on a titanium mine and no one has a shovel. I said, good googly muggly. I know y'all ain't heard that one in a long time. I said, hold up. I said, yes. When you talking about like that's an asset-based understanding.
Right.
But what was clear for me is we have the assets. We don't have the tools to fully understand or fully appreciate or fully engage with the resources, the material resources and other things that we have. That was really powerful. Right. I know it's probably an odd question, but I'm gonna start it off with really like, what did you learn about the process, like of making the film, of telling? Because really, I feel like your job as director, Jewel, was to not only tell a story, but you were threading together several stories to make a story, and that's only the tease. I know that there's more in there. They ain't get to see my ugly face in there. But when you do have an opportunity, again, screen the film at your church, at your organization, your community center, your baby shower, or whatever it is.
Not baby shower.
Birthday parties.
Birthday party, all of that, because it affects all of us. But tell us about the process and what you learned during the process, since this is your debut.
Yeah, so I would say that I got really angry during the process. Learning about the history and seeing just like the blatant racism and the blatant disrespect and how media is used. So when we talk about telling stories, the person who is telling the story is the navigator. They are the one that captivates the audience, has their attention. And so whatever they say, it's liable to become truth.
Right.
If somebody believes it, it's going to be truth to somebody. And so in the newspaper articles that I had to keep going through, I found myself like almost really at the point of tears because there were so many Black people who were just trying to live. And day after day after day, there was literally an article that I don't think I got to put inside of there that it said, lynching basically has been so much that the media is not paying attention. And so for me, that gave me the motivation, like, we're going to tell the hell out of this story.
Yeah.
We're going to ring this from the rooftop.
There we go.
Everybody has to see this because I think people just don't understand. We say struggle a lot, but the challenge, the serious daily challenge, just to get up, just to persist, it's daily. So for me, it was just being meticulous and being really like just a servant of the process. Like, I just want to be able to shine the light on these people who are doing great work every single day, who don't get to be put on the news all of the time, who don't get the accolades, who don't get the $1 million grants or what have you, that they are still doing the work. And that was one of the biggest things for me during this whole process, just honoring the stories of everybody here and just, like Ashley said, making it palatable for everybody, that you can't even turn around from this and say, well, I don't understand. Unless you just don't want to understand.
Exactly.
And so that's what I learned.
I appreciate that. I just want to say real quick, if anybody's listening, we want the $1 million grants.
Thank you.
We don't have
3
them,
of
but that don't mean that we don't
Or
want them.
5.
In fact, Sister Nneka and I were on a call where we were talking about that. It's
Right.
the folks who really doing the work who ain't got the money, and it's people who faking jacks. Who anyway, what you learn through the process?
As someone who is an avid film and documentary watcher, I learned just how hard it is. Like, I watch film and it's just like, oh, that's 2 hours. Documentary is, an hour and a half, 2 hours out of your time. And you just are consuming it. But oftentimes we don't think about what goes into the creation, right, of these visuals, of the sights and the sounds. And having gone through this process, I'm looking at TV and film much differently because it's just like, oh man, I wonder, how they produced that shot or how they laid, how they storyboarded it. But I really learned that filmmaking, it really is, it is an art all its own, but also how these narratives and how the visuals really do feed people's cultural myths, right? And so even like if we think about, I love gangster movies. I could watch The Godfather straight through, right? The first
All
one to the
three
third
of
one, all three of them. Most people don't like the third one, but I like
I'm
it
not
too.
gonna lie, I'm one of them. It's cool. It's just not as good as the first.
It's not. It's not.
They
But
get worse over time.
But the way we watch those movies, we watch them without realizing how much those movies codify the myth of, pulling yourself up by your bootstraps and all this other stuff. But then when I think about it, until Godfather of Harlem or until New Jack City, we really didn't have those movies that codified our actual pull ourselves up with no bootstraps, and how that affects how you see yourself as a culture. And so that just, making this film, just making sure I wanted people to walk away with this notion that we really are working and have been working the whole time. You just didn't get that story in the Baltimore Sun. And because of our desire to integrate or assimilate or just be accepted, we don't spend as much time rereading the history as written in the Afro, right? And so it just leaves us with this narrative of, our neighborhoods look like this because we throw trash on the ground, not because there's no public trash cans, or not because, if you eating out of a corner store, eating from carryouts creates more trash than it does if you're going to the grocery store and preparing your food.
And highly processed foods also have more packaging than fresh food. Right?
Exactly. So we get this narrative that our stuff looks messed up because somehow we're messed up. And I just wanted to make sure that we went through the process in a way that told the story in a way that codified for our culture, us pulling ourselves up. In spite of not having no boots or no bootstraps, and maybe not even no toes.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying?
Go ahead,
So,
frostbite.
Frostbite.
It's a cold word out here.
It's a cold word. I really was talking about Kunta Kinte, but yeah, you're right.
Okay,
You're right.
My fault. Oh, got him cut off. Okay.
Got him cut off.
My fault.
I got a question.
My fault. I did not catch it. Was it Toby or Kunta anyway?
You're right. Oh my God.
Who got their toes cut off? Kunta or Toby?
It was
He
Kunta
was always
Kinte.
Kunta. I'm joking.
He was always Kunta.
He was always Kunta.
Yeah.
What's your name, boy?
Not doing
Anyway,
it.
at that point in the podcast, we probably have the scene up right there. Anyway.
So I wanted to go back to the clips. Like my first question was, how did you select what pictures or what clips you would put? Because the first clip I was like, dang, without even hearing anything, it got me. So how did you choose what clips you would put in the film?
It's a feeling. It really is. So my husband would take me around town. I'm like, okay, I need to gather some film, right? I need to, get some B-roll, things like that. We'll be driving, not even planning to do something. I'm like, oh, stop right there. So that first scene that you saw on Patterson Park Avenue.
With the row of Vacants.
Yeah. I was like, oh, that's my opening right there.
Wow.
Because I was still juggling back and forth with what was going to be in the beginning, and I had like 2 or 3 different ideas. Even after we had talked about storyboarding and all of that stuff, I was like, okay, that's okay, but what's right? And as I saw it, I was like, oh, this is the community speaking. They're saying you didn't give us $30 million in this community. What could have been done? So I think it was just hearing. And it's not hearing here, it's hearing here.
That's it.
And everyone is like, it's like when my husband does poetry, right? I'm like, I'm looking for the moment. If I hear okay, that's the one. Yep, let me pull that out. Let me pull that out. And I think that'll be good. And then I listen to all of it first to see like who's on the same wavelength, what are they saying, and what plays well together, right? It's like a symphony. And so even our composer, Maurice Carroll, who has been doing music forever, he does the same thing, but in music. And so he feels his way through. And so we're like working in tandem, like, okay, if I change something over here, he got to change something over here. He's like, where's my part? Right. Where's my moment? So it's really about just feeling it here. What makes me question? What makes me say, okay, that hurts. All right, what do I need to do? Mm-hmm. And that's what I felt the whole time. Like, what do I need to do? I need to do something else. I know I'm making this film, but what else do I need to do?
I give thanks to the ancestors because, look, I promise you, no joke. So our engineer, Brother Jordan, many people who listen to the podcast know, if you're part of BYI family, you know Brother Jordan. And Brother Show as well, who was land sovereignty organizer at BYI. We, all three of us, were having a conversation earlier, and Brother Show brought into the conversation improvised action. Like, where's the room for improvised action? And as we were talking, first of all, he told me in so many words, bro, I don't know what you talking about. Put it up on the board. So we get on the whiteboard. Well, it's got to be white. No, I'm joking. We put up on the whiteboard this illustration of kind of like what you were talking about. So I know I'm making a film.
Yes.
But that's like the confinement, right? So we talk about like confined spontaneity. So it's like, I know I'm making a film, but the magic happens by being loose enough and allowing the spirit to work in the sense that it's like, I know I need to have an opening. It needs to be powerful, but what that looks like has to happen and almost has to be like serendipitous. It's at that moment, like you said, that it's like, that is going to work. And like how artists might talk about, like, I knew that song was going to do what it was going to do because of the dialogue or because of what it did for me or what I poured into it.
Yes.
And like the opening, and I got to keep teasing people because it's real. The full joint, it's just, it does something different. I don't know what it is. But it's the music plus the scene plus the Baltimore and all these my fault. Baltimore and
thank you. Baltimore
and in the big words, right? Yeah. That for me it's like the whole thing. That whole scene as you talked about, not just the landscape, but it's like, damn. Oh shit, we about to sit back and see this.
And that's what it's about. Like, it's preparation. So like through this whole thing, I've been doing master classes. I've been looking at some YouTube stuff. I'm like, how do we make this better? Because I know I don't have all the knowledge. And I'm like, somebody else do. Let me find it. And it was really about, we went back and forth a little bit on what the music sounds like in the beginning. And that intro was just so perfect because it was like, it seems like everything is fine with the music. And the contrast is, where our money at? What's up with our community?
Run that, sure.
So yeah, to your point, I think also just not judging in the process. And I also want to say that there were certain points that Nneka wanted. She wanted, I want these feelings. I want some anger. I want some frustration. I want you to be disgusted. I want you to know what's happening in these communities. But also, I want you to be able to spring into action once you see this second part. Good.
Like from the first one, I was like, I'm mad, and I'm like, this us, and I'm like, all right, because I was just telling him, like, I posted like a month ago, I was like, I want to buy row houses. This is it. So now, when I watch it, I'm hoping to be like, okay, this is my first step. This is what I can do. So that's what I'm hoping to get from it, and more people out there that want to do it, because it's so many resources out here. This is one of them.
You sitting next to a powerful black woman who's sure you about to do that. I'm clear. I'm serious. I'm 100% clear.
Yeah, I'm 100%
and there's some dope
sure.
earrings too, just in case if nobody can see it or not. I want to pivot a little bit, and I don't want to move away from the film because that's what we're here for. And I do have a question, right, about the film directly, and then I wanted to lead into something else. So why Displacia, right? Why Displacia?
As a title?
As a title, and if you can talk about, for those who might be listening who like, I don't know what blight is. I don't know what displacement is. Right. Can you break it down a little bit, even if just giving a visual?
For me.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Most of them.
So Displacia, because we're talking about space, right? And our place. So, you know, how Black people, Black bodies, Black communities, Black culture shows up and inhabits space, and how we are often relegated to particular places. And then in that relegation, we're also displaced from our bodies, from our minds, from each other, you know, from our homes, from the physical sense of community. And so, you know, I just kind of running those ideas, like we are displaced, we're dispossessed, you know, on so many different levels. So that's kind of how Displacia came, and the subtitle is Vacants in the Village, because it is. That is, you know, vacant space. You know, there's a sense of vacancy. Yeah, it's a sense of vacancy in ourselves. Right. Like there's some, you know, we have, you know, sometimes our thoughts, our mind is vacant. So all of those things. Yeah.
Listen, she better preach. That's what I'm saying. Sometimes our minds are vacant.
Sometimes our minds.
Listen.
I did the.
Sometimes our minds are vacant. And so what blight is the presence of, especially in concentrations, of vacant, abandoned, dilapidated, underutilized, and misutilized properties in community. So the first three are you know, self-explanatory. The last two, underutilized. So if you think about school buildings, right, and the fact that because Baltimore has gone from a population of 1.2 million to roughly 660,000, you have a much lower population of school children. So you have all of these school buildings that are not being fully utilized because there aren't enough children. So that's underutilized. Misutilized is if you look at the number of liquor stores, corner stores, Family Dollars, and check cashing places in our community. These are not necessarily providing products and services that we need at the quality level or at the price point. So it's a misutilization, especially if you look at liquor stores. Yeah. You can't have 5-10 liquor stores and no grocery store without saying that it's a misutilization. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about what blight is. And displacement really is it's just moving people from where they are to, you know, somewhere else at the behest or in the interest of someone else. So us being in America was the first displacement, right? Now. Up out of Africa here. Then we get here. Some of our ancestors actually coming through, you know, what is the Port of Baltimore and being then sold down the river, down south, New Orleans, South Carolina, wherever. And then, emancipation, Reconstruction, we being dope, and they can't handle it because they, no one wants to compete on flat foot, on flat land with black people. Yeah. Because
you're going to lose every day, every second.
But you're not, because we share everything.
Yeah.
So that even the notion that you're going to lose is fugazi. It's fake.
I guess within, because you used the word compete.
Yes.
Within a competitive circumstance, we're going to win, regardless. Right. No question. Right. But sharing, I think, is at the end, we still
be like, oh, I dusted you, but here goes some.
Here you go. Here goes half my medal.
Yeah. we chilling. We're going to go party, No, and then to be displaced again, to come to Baltimore, Chicago, Kansas City, St. Louis, New York, you name it, Philadelphia, to live in a community for 30, 40, 50 years, to now be displaced again because these folks want to come back from Carroll County or from Western Maryland or Columbia because they now want to live on the dirty water downtown, right? Or near the dirty water, near their Ravens or their Orioles, whatever the case is.
Because they try to take
near the water again, right? Yeah. So the displacement is, moving people out of their indigenous or adopted or forced home into another place is what we mean when we say displacement.
Listen, that is powerful, extremely powerful, and I think that at all of those levels that you talk about, and I know that the film gets to that, and there is a codified legacy that not only happens through policy, as it's talked about in the film, but also through social behaviors, through our own behaviors, how we perpetuate and capitulate with those because we just don't know and we don't see it as displacement.